We're live!
We're live!
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to reintroduce ourselves. My name is Tcode, the voice artist, aka Yakini. And with me is my co-host, Sarah Johnson, aka Yanu. And together we're the co-hosts of the Everything Voiceovers podcast, The African Perspective.
Hi, guys! We're so excited to be back for another episode. Yeah. And like Yakini said, I don't know if it felt fun to just throw that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prepare for another insightful, exciting, interesting episode on Everything Voiceover.
Yep, the African Perspective. It's such a pleasure to be here again, Sarah. Last week we kicked off our co-anchoring of the podcast together, and it left me a good feeling. I really enjoyed talking to you, and we were able to put it out there. We published, and we've been getting a lot of follows and tractions and comments and all of that, and I'm very happy about that because it's been a long time coming, and it was just time for us to get into it, doing it together. And I know that it's a big deal. It's gonna help people and help us as well as voice actors and now podcasters. Yeah, so a lot has been happening over the past 2 weeks. So I think I should also chip this in because that last episode was done 2 weeks ago. So last week we couldn't record, unfortunately. So we dropped the episode the week before last week, and it was a cool one. So yeah, so we have 2 weeks of gists piled up, right?
See,
Before we, okay. So before we get into the gist, we do, right? But tell me what how you feeling today? Like what's your today's been like?
Today has been like a reset day. Because I had over the weekend, alongside the Lagos Comicon, I had my master's defense. Then I came back and started writing my exams. In fact, I literally submitted my exams this morning. And then, for me, my physical space is always like a big deal as to how my mental gets to perform. So I went into some deep cleaning of my space, my bathrooms, my room, my living room, my studio. I was just, doing all of that to really get myself in the baby girl mental space,
In the groove.
So that's it. It's just been a reset. So I'm
I like
feeling
that
good.
for
I'm
you.
feeling good.
I like that for you, from a very busy weekend to coming back and doing your exams. I mean, it's interesting to know that you're still schooling right now. People would just think that being a voiceover artist, a full-timer, you should just, relax and be making the box and, getting the gigs and all of that. But people like Sarah still go ahead to study for that master's
And
level.
that's
Wow.
like taking a dive into, like going around, what we're going to talk about today. That's one of the mistakes, voiceover artists make. You feel like because you're doing it full time, you're making money, you shouldn't expand your skill sets, you shouldn't advance more than where you currently are. And, you just end up being a lookout champion when you don't advance yourself. I mean,
That's deep.
if you look at people who are high up there in the voiceover industry, they're still educating themselves, they're still learning. Like every form of knowledge they come across, they're trying to get it, So I think it's very important to keep
Podcast never
advancing.
even starts. Podcast never starts. Sarah don't need drop gems.
Take out your fish.
But I love it. I like it. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Sarah, for dropping that nice one. So we have a lot to talk about today, and you just, gave us a
we
cue
totally
into it,
do.
which is talking about the common mistakes that voiceover artists make, in the industry. But I don't know, which should we take first? Should we dash into the common mistakes? Let's still talk a little bit about what happened over the weekend, because one of the
I
things
think
we
so
want to do
too.
on the episode, is we want to ensure that we're keeping people up to date with the happenings in the voiceover industry. And I'm so glad that we're because 2 major events happened over the weekend, and it was so good because I was actively engaged with one and you were actively engaged with the other one. So let's start with you, Sarah. You were a guest speaker and a panelist at the just concluded Lagos Comicon, which is a big deal. Like, tell us about what the Lagos Comic Con is about and what the experience was like for you, what your session was like, and the entire adventure. Because I know it was an adventure for you, flying down to
Oh,
Lagos and
trust
just
me, man.
having fun and catching up with folks. So tell us about it, Sarah.
Yeah, so I mean, the Lagos Comic Con, this was actually my very first time at a Comic Con. Yeah, it was my
Nice.
very first time at a Comic Con, and it was so exciting that the first time I get to be at the Comic Con, not only do I get to just attend, I get to be a speaker. And I'm speaking about,
Mm.
like the biggest animated series I've done, in my career so far. And yeah, it was very, very exciting for me. So typically, what the Comic Con is supposed to be about is to highlight, work what the comic world is doing, right?
Yeah.
Animations, comic books, and you just come, wear really fun costumes of your favorite cartoon characters, or your favorite comic books, and just show up and show out, and we get to talk
Uh-huh.
about what's going on in the industry as a whole, and voiceover
Uh,
artists coming over, asking questions about the latest animations, and just all of that. And Lagos Comic Con didn't fall short of that. They did exactly that.
mm.
I met Harley Quinn, I met Snow White,
Ooh.
Jasmine. you know See, the ladies really showed up for this year's Lagos Comic Con. Like, they weren't playing with the
Really?
costumes. They were not playing.
That's so
Then
cool.
what
That's so
other what
cool.
other I saw a bunch of other characters, people dressed up as other characters, and it was just really colorful and really fun, and I got to see a lot of comic books. I didn't even know that people were big fans of comics and animations as much
Yeah.
as I saw at the Lagos Comic Con this year. I thought I was just the geek here, but it felt good to see. It felt
Yeah.
good to see other people, just come and geek out and do all that great stuff and have fun while at it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I met some of, the amazing minds behind Ianu, people that were they were part of creating the comic book, working on the
Mhm.
character design, and as well as some other animations, other people, other animators from other animations, and other voice actors as well. It was just really a great time of networking, meeting people, and insights in general, just going outside of
It
my
was
comfort zone. Yeah.
it was really beautiful.
it,
I mean
it was the event
your
where voiceover artists get to feel like celebrities. That's
I like how you
how it
put it.
felt for me, because I didn't even know people would. Yeah,
Go
I
on.
didn't even know people knew me, right? And I just had people walking up to me like, "Oh my God, I'm such a big fan of your work. You're the voice of Iyanu, right? I'm so excited. I
Oh,
heard you also worked on Moji. I've seen that as well, and I'm so excited. Blah 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 blah." And I'm like,
oh my.
"Wow, people know me here." So yeah, it was a good experience. It was a good experience.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I've been getting some of those kind of reactions too recently, and I'm like, oh, it really feels good.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, yeah, I mean, thank you also for keeping us up to date with what's happening because your stories on Instagram and your post over the weekend was just lit. You kept giving us back to back from when you were in the hotel room. I think even from when you took the flight to Lagos. We were just updated and it was really cool. Shout out to the organizers of the Lagos Comic Con. Shout out to Mr. Ayo
Yeah.
Elegba. I think he's like the
Oh
president
yeah,
of
he was so
the
pleasant. Like, he came to pick me up at the airport and everything.
yeah, I saw that. I saw that. I've met him too before. A very cool man. That was last year, I believe. When was it last year? I'm not sure now, but I think it was last year when the Ajaka Lost in Rome was
Yeah.
released, right? So I was in Lagos. I
Mm-hmm.
hosted the what do we call it now? The short film premiere. Yeah, yeah, that was it. So
Mm.
I met him and it's such a cool person and very talented person at that too. So shout out to the organizers and all that. Meanwhile, while that was happening in Lagos, all over Africa, another event was happening, and that was the
Yeah.
VO Africa conference. I'm sure we did mention the VO Africa conference at the last episode of the podcast. So
Yeah,
it
we
happened
did.
over this weekend. In fact, it's a 3 day event. So it happened on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it was so, so cool. That was at 13th, 14th, and 15th. I remember we stuttering on 13th last week. So,
Did you do it again? Did you do
yeah.
it again? Say it again. Let me
No,
hear.
I did it 13.
Say it again. Let me hear.
Very 13.
No.
Come on, man. I'm better at this now.
I'm sorry. I will always make it a big deal on the show. It's fun.
Okay. You got me. So, I am a chosen.
The God of chosen. I want to pronounce
By the way,
it.
the chosen,
Actually,
you know, right?
I am the chosen.
You are the chosen. And people are not going to
know,
understand
I
until
should-
they see Yanu
I should
itself.
actually do that.
Yeah, you should.
But you
I
may
am a
not
chosen.
understand. Iyanu is called the chosen one in the Iyanu
The
series.
chosen one, right? Yeah. Speaking of Yanu series, I checked through my Instagram and I realized I had not even posted my. There's a design that was done. There's a flyer for each character to say, "Oh, I was on Yanu." I've not posted mine, and I was like shocked.
Why?
I was like, can you mind? I think there was twice that we were supposed to post and stuff like that. I only did the first one. The second one I did across other places except for Instagram, and I don't know how I forgot. I don't know how, but I'm gonna do that over the week.
Well, now you remember.
Instagram has been a lot,
and
by the way.
Content's not the waste.
Content. See, babe, over the weekend it was just a potpourri of content. I was just splashing and sploshing for content all over the place. And speaking of content too, right? Well, okay, so thinking about content, two major content that stood out for me over the weekend. One is the Mel Blanc. No, not Mel Blanc. Sorry, I meant to say James L. Jones.
Oh yeah.
Is passing, which I did create a short content for, more like a tribute, to talk about his life, his legacy, and stuff like that. Also, I really liked it, and I would say people can go listen to it. It's on my Instagram account. So yeah, shout out to James L. Jones. Thinking about him, he passed on at the age of 93. That's such a good old age, really. But then
that is good. Not many get to live that long, and that's amazing.
True.
And it's one thing to live long; it's another thing to live a life that
and
you
a
look
good
back
life,
at and you're proud of.
Yeah,
A life that inspires people, and I think that's how he lived.
Very inspiring. Very, very, very inspiring. There's hardly anybody that doesn't talk about James L. Jones as someone who inspired them in the industry, right? He has a very charming and there's just this good aura around him. And when you look at the works that he did, it just had. Sometimes I just look at it like some people are born to do this, and they also put in the hard work. That's what I see with James L. Jones. He played the character of Mufasa from The Lion King, and he just has that perfect voice. That's what I can call it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about him, man. But that voice, I can't even do a perfect mimicry of that. I'll just make a mess of myself.
Enough, it wasn't even The Lion King I first learned about James Earl Jones or first encountered him. It was in Coming to America. Yeah, when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me that. When I was a kid, my mom used to tell me that whenever I was crying, they just turn on Coming to America and then just leave me in front of the TV and I'd stop crying. Cool. Yeah, so growing up again, I'm just constantly watching, just always watching that. That was when it was later on I found out that this guy is the voice of Mufasa. And it was so mind-blowing for me. And then I went on to learn about other voice work he's done and audiobooks he's narrated, and I'm like, whoa. And then getting into the voiceover scene, I'm like, God damn, it's just amazing to have that kind of portfolio and have that kind of body of work, that is exciting and inspiring and just so lovely, really. It's such a thing to be proud of. Such a thing to be proud of.
Honestly, shout out to James L. Jones, and I would also say it was also the voice of Darth Vader in Star Wars. Also, he narrated the Bible, and it was a great stuff. So shout out to him. Shout out to him. Shout out to him. Before we
Yeah,
continue,
may his
Sarah,
soul
I
continue to
think
rest in perfect peace.
yeah, perfect peace. Amen. I was just gonna say that I guess you need to adjust your camera or your position to the
Okay.
middle a little bit. Yeah, that's more
How
like
does
it.
this
That's
work?
more like it. Works
All right.
perfect. You're right in the center of things, all right?
Yay!
So in case people don't know, this is not just audio, but also video. So you can go check us out on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, shout out to you. You're the MVP. Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and not just watch and share it with somebody else. Okay. So the other thing that Instagram brought to my remembrance is also the revelation of Yekini. If you recall, I reintroduced myself as Tcode, aka Yekini, and that's because for about 2 years now, too, I had been working with the Limitless Studio team, and we came up with Yakini. I'm the voice for the lead character as well. So yeah, we can talk about it now. That's why I'm talking about it. It's been in the works for 2 years, and it's so beautiful to see it come to life, right? So yeah, I got to announce that too, or the team announced it, and there was just a very short interview clip that I put on my Instagram, plus the other things that I put over the weekend. So yeah, it was a great, eventful weekend, colorful one for me as well. And shout out to us. Yeah, I was going to talk about the VO Africa conference just before we dive into the topic for
Yes.
today.
Yes.
So the conference
Please.
was such
We have to talk about that.
it was a cool one. We
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of speakers across the world. John Baker, she's like one of the top voiceover artists in the world, talking about even the
Shout
position
out to
that she plays.
John!
The co-founder of SOVAS, that's the Society of Voice Arts and Sciences. She co-founded with Rudy Gaskin, who is her husband, right? So John Baker was there alongside a lot of other speakers from Africa and outside Africa. I got to host some sessions. Over the 3 days, I was active. I was behind the scene as well. And actively, I hosted one particular panel session that had King E, who is the founder of the Voiceover Workshop and Media and the Voiceover Conference. Also had Joy Ogbekene and Jamaldeen Amzat. These are top voiceover artists. Joy, for people who don't know, she's been in the industry for 19 years plus. So she's a big deal in the industry, right? And Hamzat Jamaldeen, who is one of like the top selling African voices on most pay to play sites. So we all had to talk about the voiceover industry in Nigeria, and exciting revelations came out of that, especially when we're talking about the indigenous voiceover market in Nigeria. And one of the key things I learned from that session is the fact that the demand is there. It may not be as widespread as we have the English demand, but the demand for quality indigenous voice actors is really there. We just don't have enough indigenous quality voice actors. And I want to emphasize the word quality because I stay, in the Southwest, and I know we have a lot of indigenous voice actors who are mostly radio presenters, but when it comes to putting in the extra effort to make it quality and understand the craft beyond just how you do radio stuff, not many people live up to that expectation. So yeah, that was one of the highlights. We had other sessions too, and I was really, really taking notes. I have a lot of notes on my sticker notes here. Sheon Shuba was also a speaker at the event. That's the founder of the Voiceover Academy,
Yeah.
and he spoke about nailing commercials, right? Nailing commercial. Was it audition? No, just nailing commercials basically. And he shared some great tips. Talked about the voiceover industry in Africa, and I got to learn that the African voiceover industry is about $200 billion. Is it like $200 billion industry, and that's also like impressive for me. He spoke about many other things too. Yeah, you're shocked, right? I mean, the global
Wait,
industry
go
is
again with that.
yeah. He shared the statistics. It started with the I think American voiceover industry is the highest with about 400 billion, right? And then there was the Asian, there was also the European, and then the African. I know I'm not so accurate in some of the names that I just called, or the locations now, but surely I took notes. And $200 billion industries market is
Wow,
what we have in Africa, and that was like very, very
amazing.
impressive, right? So he shared a lot of things as well. Talked about the mindset, the voice, and the personality, the MVP, and things that you would have to go listen if you really want to get the juice of it all. But then it wasn't a free conference to attend, even though there were scholarships and giveaways. I also did a giveaway on my part. But yeah, I'll just say that you can watch, or you can look forward to the next conference next year and be a part of it. So yeah, that happened. There was also so many other things that are, oh my, I'm just scrabbling through my sticker notes to give you guys a hint of what happened. There was also a session that happened with Tony Doe, and that was on podcasting. So yeah, the organizers thought it well to chip that in. There were just different sessions across different stuff. There was one on audio setup and things like that. There was one on being socially aware. There was one on audiobooks, which had one of the top audiobook narrators in America. What's her name again? Terry. That's Terry Clark Linden. And she gave a great talk. There was Barrett Leddy, who spoke about animation, and my God, I was so blown, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
that brought me to something, which is that a lot of us don't have animation demos in Nigeria and in Africa generally. That's my own personal observation. I don't know if that is correct, but I know that commercial are usually the number one genre that people
Most
try to
people,
create demos
yeah,
for. Yeah,
yeah,
and again, we know we can guess why the animation industry is still growing, like it's still in the early phase in Africa. So one day, Sarah, we need to really talk about animation, because as much as I like that animation is growing, I think people need to be reorientated about how animation works, so that they don't misinterpret or misrepresent animation
yep,
for
yep,
Africans. And shout out to
absolutely.
the Iyanu team for ensuring that we properly represented animation in Africa, not just by pictures, but by voices. People think about accents, foreign accents, when they think animation, neglecting the fact, and unknowingly to some of them, that what we really need is the originality of our African accents to portray the African story better. So that's something that a lot of people need to be informed about, and you don't need to stress yourself on trying to learn the American accent or the whatever kind of accent because you want to go into
Yeah,
animation if you are going to be doing animation in Nigeria and in Africa. You want to talk about that, Sarah?
absolutely. Yeah, a lot of times I hear people that want to do animation in the Nigerian scene. They're trying to do accents because okay, let me finish that train of thoughts. I just have so many thoughts
Mhm.
going on at once. A lot of people believe
Yeah.
that you have to have this American accent or do character voices in an accent. And I really won't blame them, because growing up, for all of us that are even interested in animation in the first place, we grew up on American cartoons. So
Mm.
automatically, when you want to do character voices, you automatically think that, oh yeah, the American accent is the immediate fallback, or any other accents than our Nigerian accent. And that's because we didn't grow up on those kind of things. But animation is embodying a character, and it goes far beyond
Yeah.
the accent. The accent is just embellishment. Yeah, it is
Mm.
just to add some flavor to whatever character you're
Mm.
playing. The character is far more than just the accent. So once you're able to get the character right, you can now throw on the accent later. But for the Nigerian industry, you don't even need to throw on any accents. You need to understand the character and bring that character to life with your accents. There's absolutely nothing wrong with your accents. If anything, it is in demand right now. It is in demand because we are
Mm.
getting to a place where we are having our stories told, not by anybody else but ourselves. And so therefore, we need proper representation as we are going forward. And so therefore, we have to come correct with what our accents actually sounds like. You see our accents not properly represented in Hollywood movies or some other places, and you're like, this is not how the Nigerian accent sounds like. Well, show them, you know. Show them by
Mhm.
actually doing your accents right, not trying to Americanize your Nigerian accent. So yeah,
I
that's
love
just what
that.
I have to say.
I love that. I'm
And
Pan-African,
yeah.
Pan-Nigerian. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of times when I need to audition for gigs on voices and all of that, I tend to use my Nigerian accent but that's another conversation for another day. We're just going to get into that rabbit hole of talking about accents. We're going to find a time to properly dissect accents because even in
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
we have different types of accents for like the entire country. And when it comes to voiceovers, we also
Yep.
have some choice accents that people can choose from. So that's another conversation that we have to go to another day. But yeah, the VO Africa conference was a good one. I really enjoyed it, and I connected with a lot of people from different countries too. Jennifer Canary was there. Shout out to Jennifer, such a
Before we
sweet soul.
leave,
Yeah.
sorry
Before we
to
leave.
cut you. I was like, before we
Please.
leave that train of thought, what was one major thing you
Mm-hmm.
learned from the animation class?
Oh yeah. From the animation class, it was the demo thing. And yeah, there are a couple of things though, to be honest. But then let me see if I can just find my notes quickly, because that would really give me a lot of refresher. So yeah, great. I have my note here. So part of the things that I took down was that when we get animation auditions, before we
Mm-hmm.
attempt them, we should get familiar with the show actors or the creators. So before you just even take any character to just start doing, find out who the show actors or who the show creators are. Figure out what style they've been doing, what is the nature of the animation, what are the common themes, and it gives you an idea of maybe how humorous or how the kind of attitude you're supposed to display as a character,
Yeah.
but doesn't apply to
Yeah.
all because there are some shows that it's just beginning, so there's nothing to reference. You also talk about the scripts, knowing the scripts. Sometimes you need to also take risks, and I think that stood out. And I've heard that said
Mm.
by many veterans, many top artists. Taking risk is a big deal because you don't want to sound like every other person who auditioned. You want to
Mm-hmm.
stand out,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's okay for
Absolutely.
you to do two takes. One can be like playing safe according to what is expected, and the other one is just your interpretation that is very, very unique, dynamic, and out of the blues. Just comes out, pops, right? So that was another thing. And the thing about the demo is it talked about how it is important for us as voice actors in the animation space to sort of have a few character voices that we have in our arsenal. So you just have those character voices somewhere there, and it's possible that you're in the animation recording session, and the voice director says, "Oh, we don't know if you can do this other character for us. We need this, we need that." And you're just able to bring that out, right? It's a big deal. It's a
Mm-hmm.
plus. It's an addition. So that was something too that I learned, and there are just many other things. Plus, taking acting classes, that's a big lesson too. A lot of us don't necessarily
Absolutely.
think it is important, but it is very important for voice actors to take acting classes. And I think I'll be doing
Yeah.
that hopefully maybe before the end of this year. This year is already choked. We
This
can
year
look
is
at
already
next year
going
for
by
that.
so quickly. But yeah,
Yeah, it is.
I would totally love to give acting classes a try. I feel like there's so much emoting you get to learn from
Yeah,
acting that you
yeah,
can apply in
yeah.
voice acting.
There's a lot to
Yeah.
learn, really, really,
And
really. So yeah,
something
that's
I've
it.
learned over the years,
Hmm.
yeah. So I was saying that something I've learned over the years in voice acting is the fact that your physicality and how you get to put your body and arrange yourself physically also kind of it matters. It's that's the way your voice comes out. So when you
True.
learn some certain things in acting, it shows in your voice acting. Yeah,
True, true.
agree with that.
Absolutely, absolutely true. So yeah, I think we should really get into the conversation of today.
Absolutely, we haven't even gotten into today's conversation.
We
Oh my
haven't,
god.
and there's just a lot of gist that we've not even talked about. But
Absolutely.
honorable mentions in terms of gists, you can anticipate an audio description webinar coming up
Whoop whoop.
by yeah, Sean Shobo is putting that together. I've forgotten the name of the guest, but he's one of the top audio description narrators that exists today. So that will be happening. You can check Sean Shobo's page on Instagram to find out more. It's a free webinar, so shout out to him.
Well,
And
you'd have to
yeah, maybe,
register in order to get in.
yeah, you have to register. I did already. So it's coming up on the 28th of this month. So that's I think I'm not sure if we're going to be talking about it by the time
Oh yeah, Joel Snyder.
oh yeah, thanks for bringing that out. And there's a lot of gist really. I just remembered again that the APVA Awards, ABVA Awards is happening next weekend. So that's a big deal. You were nominated, Sarah. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
And
I
plus
know,
a
right?
lot
Let's
of
see how
other
that
people.
goes.
Yeah, shout out to the APVA, to the ABBA Awards. See, I'm saying shout out like I am actually part of the team
See him
at
in the team,
ABBA.
shouting out to the rest of the team.
That's how we roll. Okay, so
Are
let's
you giving a
just
shout out
dive
to
right
yourself?
into it. Shout out to me. Okay, yeah, Kenny.
Of course.
Oh my God, I've not recovered from the excitement of Yakini. I feel like I'm Shags
I'm-
of Super Strikers right now, and it's a dream come
Yeah,
true.
it's a totally big deal. Growing up, I read so much Super Strikers, and it's
Same
such a
here.
joy. Like I'm so excited for you, Tcode. Congratulations! It's such a big
Congratulations to you.
deal.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Look at us.
All right, so let's just dive right into this conversation,
All
right?
right.
And I'm
Yeah.
going to throw the question to you first. You know, we're
Okay.
talking about common mistakes. Apologies if you hear a dog. That's my neighbor's dog. It's part of the things that we go through as voiceover artists. We can't control. We can, But anyways, let's leave that aside. So we're going to talk about common mistakes that voiceover artists make, and I want us to start with ourselves before even we begin to give people advice on all of that. Common mistakes that voiceover artists make in their career. So Sarah, let's start from you. Think about your own career. Think about how you started and the years that has brought you here. What are the mistakes that you can, with the benefit of hindsight, say you made that you should have not made if you knew better, that you can share with us to learn from?
No, I never looked at it like that.
Tell me
I
about
looked
it.
at it as things that I did that I think would be that I would do all over again. But yeah, certain things that I. So the thing is, for me, a lot of times when I think of certain things I didn't do, I automatically start. It's once I discover this is something I haven't been doing, I pick up and I start doing it. So right now, I would say certain things I wasn't doing before, that when I caught up on it, I started doing it. So I think it would be inconsistent branding and an online presence. Yeah, so this is something I'm still working on. This is something I'm still
We're
working
also
on,
working
trying
on
to
it.
be present online, because like I said, I'm a total studio rat. I prefer to be in the studio all day and do the work than actually
Yeah, I
put
know, right?
myself online. So I think that also applies to putting yourself out there. But I think let me finish with the first point, Sha. I think inconsistent branding and online presence. So I had branding, but I wasn't making use of it, and I wasn't really online, or I would be online for like a month and then disappear for like 2 months and then come back. And it's
Wow.
probably just because I have this project on my plate, and I'm just busy with the work, and I just want to be centered in on the work. So you just have to remember that you have to keep a digital footprint. As much as you're
Yeah,
getting the
true.
work done, you have to make sure you have a digital footprint, because these things would come in handy later in the future. It could be that you want to emigrate. It could be that you need the social currency or social proof that this is where you're at in your career, or this is how good you are at what you do. It's a lot of things, but it's very, very essential to establish yourself online and create an online presence and make sure that you have digital footprints. Even if it's that you're not the kind of person that likes posting a lot, you can create a newsletter and have your website, and then post articles there. send newsletters to those who visit your website or, who follow you online. Keep your profile updated. Put relevant pictures of yourself online. Don't, how do I explain it? But I've seen certain things that I'm just like, are you serious about your destiny? So just try to put relevant pictures of yourself online. I'm not saying like strip yourself of your personality, right? I'm just saying that like when people come to your page, let them know, okay, this is what this person does. Let them not get carried away by so many other things that they don't get to actually see what you do for a living, like if that's what that page is for. So present a consistent brand identity, and invest in not just a graphic designer but like a brand curator, right? And brainstorm with that person and come up with a brand image for yourself. Write out your brand experience. What do you want people to feel when they come to your page, when they work with you? These are certain things that you must do. Just keep your profile updated, Sha, and have a consistent brand identity, and make sure it showcases your strengths. So I was digressing into another point.
Yeah, I think you actually started with a consistency, digital footprint type of thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
your
So
own
for
mistakes. Yeah.
me, I never took being online so seriously, like I said, because I'm a total studio rat, and also because most of my clients, I didn't get them on social media. I wasn't getting, social media clients. I wanted big money, I'm not lie, and like people that were offering big money were not on Instagram. So I'm saying that as much as you're going to do that. So I relied heavily on email marketing and reaching out to agencies, publishing companies and the likes. So, I mean, you can do that, but do not neglect, showing some of your work online. You don't have to be 7 days a week, 30 days a month, but make sure that, there's some level of presence on your social media. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
that's
I mean, pretty
that's
much, yeah,
very
that's one of many things, really.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah. But I
sorry.
mean,
Before we
okay, go
go,
on.
from me, something I wasn't doing right at the beginning, and I had to just get right at eventually, is pricing myself correctly. To be honest, with creative work, there's not really a price you can put on your voice. But make sure that it is fair and you are not undercharging yourself. Don't undervalue your work, and don't price yourself out of the market either. you know you've not been a voiceover artist for so long, you haven't gathered so much experience, but because you hear that this is how much this person is collecting, you want to charge that amount. It doesn't work that way. You have to earn your flowers. So I think don't overcharge yourself, so that people don't say, what's this person even doing self? So they're not getting the value that they would get if they were working with that other person whose price you're trying to mimic, you know and then they're like, I beg, would rather not. So you now realize, you're not getting clients, you're not getting customers, probably because at that point in time you haven't gathered the necessary experience to present, a certain brand experience that they would be paying that much for. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. So make sure you don't undercharge or overcharge. Don't be collecting 5K, 10K for voiceover. I say it like that because you must know.
Yeah.
Don't undercharge yourself. Like, don't even collect 20K for voiceover, except if you are doing with guys for that person. So,
Yeah.
and that is where I highly recommend academics coming in. Go for training, because once you're in a body where you're actually getting trained, you get to speak with those who have been in the industry longer. You get to have a community of people around you who are at the same stage as you are. You get to understand the system and what rate is best to give yourself at every different point in time, so that you're not left behind or too far in the front. Yeah.
Sarah, I think you've said everything. What is there to talk about again? But you've made a lot of sense, really. I mean, you said even things that I would have said, because part of the mistakes that I also made is the money thing. By the way, the brand consistency thing, that's a big deal. That is something that I sort of a bit struggled. But then let's just move on to the other one you're talking about. The money thing, the value thing, the pricing thing. I think
Mhm.
I'll sum it up to not understanding or how the industry works. That's one of the mistakes that a lot of people make.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I even though I was really keen on understanding how the industry worked, I got a should I say I got a leap start quite early because 2021, I recall that I won the Nigerian voice acting contest, even though at the time
Mm-hmm.
I had already started doing voiceovers. Pardon me. I already started doing voiceovers, but
That's true.
there were certain experiences that I had not matured into, and when that
Yeah.
stardom and fame came with winning that contest, I
Mm-hmm.
did not know how to fully respond to those attractions or things that I attracted naturally by virtue of that win. For instance, I would now have international casting agents reach out to me, but at the time I did not know how to handle such. I would probably give a poor rate, poor in the sense that what we charge in Nigeria is not same as global. So the global rates like the GVAA rates guide, I mean, I wasn't keen to using such, or
You
I
know,
would overcharge at some cases, or somebody reaches out to me and wants to know what, like, wants to give me a gig, and I'm trying to introduce myself as the winner of Nigeria Voice. Like, I kind of like felt then that it was a bragging right, like it was part of my CV. So I want to
yeah,
introduce myself, and I'm always like it's not like I was lying. It was just that it wasn't necessary. The job would speak for itself.
yeah,
So it could come out like I was bragging, which I didn't really understand. Like the voiceover industry is not that it's not that deep. We just want you to do your work and do it well. That was it. Right. So that was one of those. So I really did not understand the workings of, like, okay, I think I better put it this way. I didn't really understand the workings of the external industry. I was more closed in on the internal industry, which is in the Nigeria and the local market, right? So it's important for people to start to also pay attention to what's happening globally as they do
yeah,
locally, because there's a lot happening. And I think some of us in this industry were able to have sustainable careers because we're not just limited to the local market.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
more rewarding when you do jobs for international clients and they pay you in dollars. Like that's a
Absolutely.
lot,
Not even gonna
compared to
lie.
what you'll get
Yeah.
paid in naira. So when you start to pay attention to those things, it's really important. Another mistake that I made at the very, very, very early, like this one is way, way back, is me not understanding accents properly and how to balance them. I would assume that voiceover was about, using the American accent or the British accent, and then I'll go on pay to play sites and I will start auditioning for jobs that had nothing to do with Nigerian or African. Rather, I was going for the American, so it took me a while to realize that, oh my, I've been shooting myself in the foot all this
In the foot.
while. If only I
Yeah.
just yeah, if only I just stayed original. And these people actually want the Nigerian accent. And when I realized that, it reduced the burden because I didn't need to stress myself to be what I wasn't or what I am not. And with just my natural self, I got the jobs that were deserving. So that was another mistake I used to make then. So yeah, these are like personal experiences, right, that we have to share. I think, having said all of that, we can go now into common mistakes that people make. It doesn't necessarily have to be like personal, but something that's from where we stand, we can see people making these mistakes consistently, right? Especially new beginners, right? So yeah, do you have anyone you want to share, or should I just continue?
There's something you said that I just want to quickly touch on. Still on this whole pricing thing, overcharging or undercharging. Sometimes, there's two things. People undercharge either out of ignorance or because they think it's giving them an edge. Some people undercharge
Mm,
because they're like, if people are charging like this, let me charge like this so that to give me an edge. No, sometimes just
mm,
makes it look like you don't know what you're doing. Because they're like, if this person really knows what they're doing, why are they charging like this? So sometimes your undercharging may scare some clients away.
True.
Let me just
True.
tell you the truth now.
Yeah.
Your undercharging will not give you an edge in certain cases. It will
It's not
drive
even
your
going to give you
customers
respect
away.
and value.
Yeah, or they won't value you the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So charge your worth. Charge
Yeah.
your worth, Don't try
Yeah.
to don't
Yeah.
try
I
to
think
say, okay, if people are charging 700, let me charge 200 so that they'll pick me. No. It doesn't work that way. You're just going
and
to punish yourself for no reason.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know?
So yeah, carry on.
I mean, the money matter is a very interesting one, quite dicey and touchy too, because I've been around long enough to know that certain things aren't necessarily cast in stone, and our industry is still developing. So when it comes to matters of how much to charge for this or that, people are usually left in the dark because,
Yeah.
like I said, things are not really cast in stone. So there is a part of, oh, you as the voice actor not doing due diligence to find out what to charge. And then there's the part of we as an industry not having enough information readily available to serve the populace. Although
True.
things
And you
has
have
really
people that
changed.
actually hoard information of how much they charged for what.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that
really?
was
In
a big deal.
2024? Come on. Come on.
That used to be a challenge that I had to back then. People weren't going to share with me what they charged, and I was just left to figure things out myself. And I would ask a lot of questions from my mentor until I stumbled on the APV, the avoir rate card. And I think the first rate card that I really, really stumbled on was the one created by the Voiceover Academy. There was this website that the Voiceover Academy had back then. I can't remember now the name of the website, but it's something I can't remember. Voiceover something.
Drill?
Yeah, Voiceover Drill. Shout out to Mr. Showbot, the brand master, and the team. That was, for me, Voiceover Drill was like me. Sorry. Voiceover Drill was like me finding a secret sauce. And I would go there and I would reference and try to use it to. I even created my own first rate card based on that rate card. And that served me for a while until I realized the avoir rate card, which is the official rate card for the industry. And yeah. We could go on and on talking about that. But one thing I
Oh, yeah,
think
and that only just got adjusted not too long ago. It wasn't
yeah,
given
not too long
before.
ago, because the previous version it wasn't reflecting the current state of the industry at the time. Things had evolved, so the prices were quite low, and obviously, everyone knew they needed to review, and they did that last year. So shout out to them. And to be honest, right, I gotta say this.
Absolutely.
While the rate card is, I think it's just getting to sink in. People are beginning to accept it. So while that acceptance is happening, the reality of the economy, especially with how our currency is deepening, like, it's losing value, unfortunately, it makes it important, or it's bringing a necessity for the rate card to even be reviewed further. But it might not be a conversation for the immediate, because things like that too shouldn't just be reviewed every now and then, right? But I'm just
Yeah.
saying that
Plus,
even
everybody's kind of like feeling the intensity of what is happening with the economy.
yeah.
So
At the
I think
time when
over
the rate card
time, with
was
time,
yeah
it needs to
yeah
actually be reviewed again. Yeah.
yeah at the time when the rate was created last, dollar prices was around maybe like 500 ish or so. Now it's three times that amount in Nigeria. So it could also mean that the rates right now aren't reflective of what we should be charging right now. Not because the rate is inaccurate in itself, it's just because the economy just changes. So it's not off for a voiceover artist to know that he's worth three times or twice the amount represented on the
what they
rates.
used to.
So Yeah, but all of these things, they're just some nuances and gray areas that, with proper understanding of how things work, you begin to know how to address
Yeah,
them. For instance, we have issues with, oh, how do we charge for audiobooks and certain kind of narrations? Not because those things are not,
yeah.
but just that they're not cast in stone, like I say, right? And I think there's a need for us to
It
have
varies
a
with your level of
conversation.
experience.
God bless you. That is really important to note. And also, depending on the kind of work, certain works require certain approaches. So
Mm.
yeah, there's still a need for us to have a consensus, kind of like we coming together to learn about the industry's rates, and so that people are better informed, because a lot of times we're all just trying to like maneuver our way around it, right? But yeah, enough of the rate conversations. What other things do I
But I
yeah.
think before we leave this
Okay, go
money
on.
talk,
Yeah,
what?
okay, money talk. I like that.
Yeah, I
Go on,
think
money
before we
talk.
leave this money talk, I think another mistake that I made and that a lot of people make is ignoring the business side of things, right? Because as
Oh,
much as you're a creative, you are running a business.
mm,
You are running a business, and you
my.
have to bring that approach to it. Either that
Yeah,
or you have a
yeah,
business manager. And you know
yeah,
that that's not
yeah,
feasible for a lot of times at the beginning of your career. So you have to wear many hats. You have to actually
yeah.
learn how to manage your business. Learn how, don't neglect things like marketing,
Mm-hmm.
negotiating. Learn how to do these things. Looking at contracts and managing your finances. Not
Yeah.
many people even have a spreadsheet where they write how
Mm.
much they've earned in a year.
Not many
I
of
and
us.
Femi
I am
Bakes were
guilty
talking
of
about
that, to be
something.
honest.
Yeah. See, trust me, a lot of us are.
A lot of
A
us,
few
yeah, we're
months
just
ago,
waking up
I
to
and
it.
Femi Bakes were talking, and it was like, do you have a spreadsheet where you have all the money you've earned this year written? And I'm like, why are you asking? I'm like, I'm very guilty. I don't.
Same here.
But like, I
Guilty
can
as
go through
charged.
my bank statement and know how much I've made.
I know, right?
If you're
I know,
asking.
right?
He was like, you
I
don't. I was
know.
like, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. He was like, yeah, it's essential. And, it really opened my eyes. I think this was at the end of 2022, actually, or beginning of 2023. We had that conversation. It really opened my eyes to the fact that you, just like every other business, you need to track your income. You need to know. That's why you see some people say, I can't afford to get this new mic. By the calculations of how much your business is making, you can actually target a certain percentage to buying things that are supposed to step your business to the next level, like getting a new mic.
Facts.
If you're not tracking how
Facts.
much your business is actually making, you cannot know what you can't and can't afford.
True. Yeah.
Maybe you're at a stage where you're making a certain amount of money and you say, oh, I want to get an Apollo Twin sound card. Maybe
Mm.
your business just can't afford it right now, as much as you may want it. Your business probably just can't afford it right now. And that's not to say, except if it's a seed investment, you're like, I'm going big, I'm going to get all these things. And there's a possibility I can see that if I position myself in this manner, there's a potential of these jobs coming, except you're doing that, like your seed investment. But knowing that, okay, I'm going with the natural projection of my business, and you're saying that, oh, I want to do this now, you're going to run yourself bankrupt. And then you
True.
now be crying, voiceover, no, they pay. You just need to actually keep track of the earnings of your business. Your voice is your business. So you need to keep track of it. You need to know how much you're earning,
Preach.
how much these guys are making. So that's why if your original price for, maybe you want to do a commercial and you say, oh, 200K, and the person wants to price you down to 100K, just remember, see, don't allow people to be pricing you like bread. Okay, they don't even used to price bread. Now bread is 2,000 naira.
Bread does suffer.
They don't price it again. Don't allow people
Oh
to price
God.
you like fish. Okay, you need to actually calculate the projections of your business and know that if I let this certain percentage or amount go, this is what I am forfeiting. This is the nosedive my business is going to take. These are the things that will keep you saying, I'm sorry, I cannot go below this amount. Except for cases
Sarah,
where
you just
you want to give certain types of clients discounts and stuff like that.
yeah. Yeah. And speaking of clients, right? It's not so what you've said just brought light to not just the business side of things, but the documentation side of things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
Mm-hmm.
us are bad at documenting your income, documenting your client base,
Yeah,
documenting the works that you do for each client. Can a client get reach out to you
absolutely.
after 2 years to say, do you still have a copy of that? I know it's very rare, but I mean, maybe let's see some months, right? And say, do you still have a copy of this job? Like a lot of us, and it was until I changed my system to an Apple, started using a MacBook. I decided, okay, now every client, well, I used to do it before, but I would lose those files. So now I got a new hard disk.
Yeah,
And when I'm with my projects, I save them on the backup, right, just to ensure that everything is documented. So yeah, these are like common challenges that or common mistakes that a lot of us have made in the past, and some of them we're trying to work or repair them, and we're just putting it out there so that we can all learn. Another error that I think many people make is this one is even very easy to spot. People just think that you can record voiceover anywhere with also just about any device. I have seen people who take their phones and record in their sitting room and just believe, oh, it's a voiceover. Not understanding acoustics, room treatment, studio space, and all of those is a huge challenge that a lot of new people are facing in the industry. The lack of understanding it, and then the maybe inability to afford to get something for themselves, which I usually say that if you can afford to get a home studio, pay for a home studio. So that's really one mistake that I have found a lot of new voiceover artists make. Did I really make that mistake? I don't think so, because I knew early enough about audio acoustics. I worked on radio. I understood sound. So yeah, it was something I could afford. So find out about acoustics, find out about equipment which you should get, and all of that. I'm thinking about another mistake that
absolutely.
people make. Yeah, so I just spoke about audio and how people treat that. Another
Yeah,
mistake
yeah.
that
I was listening.
yeah, okay, you're
I
gonna
had
say
like a
something
little
about it.
coughing fit.
Yay, sorry. You want to say something about the audio part, right? And
Yes,
equipment and
so
stuff.
that's like my second love. It's a hobby of mine. I love to design studios. I actually designed,
Nice.
yeah, I actually designed talk studios. So, I
Yeah, which is
designing is
cool.
like I love designing studios and coming up with, oh, okay, let's put
Hmm.
this here so it gives the studio this kind of sound. I really love it. So,
Yeah.
that aside, starting from the basics, invest in a home studio, because there are certain opportunities that will come for you that, trust me, you don't want to pour all that money into renting a studio. Even if you
Mm.
want to rent a studio, there are certain auditions that will come up that you'd not have to go and pay because you want to
Mhm.
audition, because you cannot just show up to a studio and go like, see, just help my life, let me come audition. Because they
Mm.
also have running costs. So
Yeah.
it's always good to have, like, start, even if you don't have money to go all out with acoustic panels and all of that, learn some DIY, how
Yeah.
to put a blanket over this to reduce the amount of noise, to make sure the room doesn't sound dead while you're recording. There's still some character in your voice while you're recording in the space that you're using. So yeah, learn all those basic things so that when auditions come your way, you are very, very prepared. You're able to excel with auditions without them worrying about the quality of audio you're going to bring. And then you can always even just leave a note. Okay, this space it was recorded in so. But
Mhm.
like, you just assure them of a better quality for the actual job. So, but then you're going to have to be twice as hard on your audition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a phase for all of that, and the more
True.
you grow, the better things get. The better things get. Yeah. So
True.
always make sure you have, like, invest in a home studio for auditions and certain jobs that you just rather do from the comfort of your own space, probably in
Mhm.
pajamas or shorts.
Yeah, we do that a lot. Don't mind that I'm putting on a jacket. On the norms, I'm not going to be putting on a jacket like this, a jean jacket to record a voiceover. Nah, it's not gonna happen because we need a space where, of course, you're gonna be sweating most of the time if you're gonna be recording for a
Presently,
long
I'm
time.
wearing shorts. So.
Same here. Oh yeah. So that's how we roll. Another mistake that I think people make often is they don't prepare themselves with a demo or with demos, right? When the client asks for your work, people are quick to send their old works, which doesn't. I mean, it's not bad. It works, but a demo has
It's
a lot of
just not
intentionality.
professional enough,
It's
especially
not
when you start
professional
working
enough.
in the international scene.
Yeah, yeah, right. You're right. In the international scene, some you know the thing about it is some clients really precisely ask for old works, but then demo is
Yeah,
the proper thing because it doesn't just show your capacity in a particular form of rendition, like it shows your range. So a lot of people
yeah.
don't have demos that's like a demo reel. Yeah, a demo could be like a single recording, but a demo reel is like a potpourri, like you're adding five, six together, to make a demo reel. So that's one of the mistakes that I
I
see a
think
lot of
until the client
people.
actually asks for old work, the demo is
Hmm.
what you should present.
I agree. I agree again because it's not all your old work. In fact, most of the works that you've done in the past aren't something that you should just share like that.
Exactly, because you don't
Yeah,
even know if it's been released, so
yeah,
that you don't go and breach contracts in the process of
contracts.
trying to impress
Yeah,
another client.
yeah. Which brings me to another mistake that a lot of us, I don't know, a couple of people would make while they're starting is just posting or publishing jobs that they make without necessarily getting, should I say the approval, or at least being sure that it is clear, like they are clear to do
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
right? You don't want to post a gig that you did or tell people that you did a gig when the client is yet to publish that work. Either be, I mean, and it's
absolutely.
even
Oh
it's
my
even worse
God,
if it's like an
that can
animation
be
kind of
really
project.
terrible.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't want to make that
And
mistake.
this just makes me remember Iyanu. Sorry, did
We
I
had to
cut
keep
you
our
off?
lips sealed.
I
No,
think
no,
we
no.
had a
Go
bit of
on.
a latency there.
No,
Okay.
don't worry. Go on.
So, I mean, we've been working on Iyanu for almost since the end of 2022. No, since January 2023, we've been working on Iyanu. And we were told to keep shut about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine let's even start from, imagine you didn't read the instructions where they said, don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Already, you'd be in trouble because you now go and post it without knowing if you actually can. And then
Yeah.
not only would you now, like,
Jeopardize a lot of
it's
things.
just yeah, always ask if you're allowed to post something when you're working on certain projects. Don't just go off and post what you don't know if you have the permission to.
Permission. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I should mention that one of the mistakes that people make is this takes us back to the point you first made, which is about branding. People make the mistake to put everything and anything that they do under one umbrella. There is the room for us to show our originality, like show our humanity, like yeah, it's okay, it's understandable. But when you have conflicting or diverse interests that don't they don't
That don't
sync
find
in
they don't find a middle.
yeah, right, it creates identity crises for your audience. You want to make sure that if you're a voiceover artist, let's know you to be a voiceover artist. Create a page
Yeah.
that is your voiceover space, and you are able to fill it up with some voiceover content and also some lifestyle content that doesn't really go far away from we knowing you as a voiceover artist. So that's one
Yeah.
of like the errors that I think people make, right?
Except you find a way to just finely blend them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is rare because which is rare, Sha, but just in case you can, except you find a way to seamlessly blend them. Like maybe your lifestyle has to do with your life as a voice actor.
Yeah.
You know, your lifestyle content has to do with your life as a voice actor. Or, you just find a way to, or maybe you mold and then you do pottery and you do voiceover over that pottery that makes people inquire about one or the other. So, except you just find a way to really seamlessly blend it.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you have diverse interests, it's best to just have a separate page for that so that your customers, potential clients that come to your page are not thrown off balance.
Yeah. We're able to see
Yeah.
what we
We
need to
like
see.
that you went to the club, right? We like that you want to post about it, but maybe you should have a personal page for that.
Do you get
We love
beginning of
originality, but either that goes on your story or your highlights or a
yeah, that's how
temporary
to go
post on your
about
Instagram,
it.
because you want to make sure that there's not too much lifestyle gap in between your work, because people maybe someone just told another person about you and that person is so excited to come to your page and see what you do, and they're like, okay, this was her at a restaurant, this was her here
In church
and then they're just having to scroll so far down
before
before
they
they
see any
actually find your
voiceover.
work.
I mean, Instagram has even made it easy. Just pin your voiceover work on top of your Instagram feeds, or and you also gave a very good solution while you were speaking. Post your lifestyle on your stories, and to keep them memorable, you can have them added to your highlights. That way, you don't lose them forever. And still better still, create a different page for yourself. I did that in the beginning of the year. I created another page called I Am Tcode, at I Am Tcode 70, and that's where I just post very personal stuff that aren't really like the voiceover centric kind of thing. Once in a while, I collaborate between both pages, but then I just want that place to be just me.
Yeah,
I mean, different things that I could
because
later do. Sometimes I'm singing and it has nothing to do with voiceover, and I just put it there.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the more you grow in your career, the more you realize there are certain things you can't say or do on your own page because of the brand you have.
Yeah.
Or because of the brand presence you have created.
Yeah.
Like now, with my role as Iyanu and my position as a public person now, there are some things I can't post on my page anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or there are some things I would rather not post about
Rather
on my
not
page, on my business page. So
yeah.
that's where having a personal page even comes in, where you don't have to filter the words or you filter your opinions on certain things or filter what you have to say about certain things. You just know you can say what you want, how you want to say it on your own personal page.
Yeah.
So you don't get in trouble with another brand or a brand you're working with.
Yeah, true, right? There's another thing that I want to add to the mix of mistakes that I see people do, and that has been growing in the past 2 years, I've noticed, and that is that I see a lot of newbies trying to teach voiceovers, not like starting a voiceover institution of sorts.
This table you are shaking.
No, we need to shake it, because if we don't, we're talking about mistakes. If we don't talk about it, people aren't going to know. So I don't mind talking about it. You want to say something? Please go on.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, there's I believe in teaching what you already know, right? Explaining to people. But there are perspectives and ways to do this, right? You can teach from the perspective of, here's what I learned today. Here's what I'm currently learning. Here's how I've learned to do this better. As opposed to you being fresh in voiceover probably for a few months, or you just graduated from an academy and you already believe that you should be the one teaching, this is how it should be. This is how this is done. You're laying hard and fast rules. You're coming and you eventually give yourself imposter syndrome. Let's even start there. Then secondly, you may actually be wrong because you don't have enough experience at it to teach it. Even for me, who's been in the industry for 7 years now, I strongly still believe that you are constantly learning on the job, and there's just so much that I don't know, so much that there is to learn, so much that there is to know. So whenever you hear me dishing out tips on Instagram or anything, personally, I struggled with even starting that out because I just feel like I'm not even equipped enough to teach this, right?
Yeah.
As much as a lot of people felt, Sarah, I want to hear you talk about this, do this, talk about this. You just felt like I still have a lot to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why I always come from the perspective of here's how I do this, or here's how I've learned to do this better, or here's how
Yeah.
I would do this if I'd known this months ago or years ago when I was just
Yeah.
getting started. So teach from the perspective of somebody that is evolving and learning. Don't, you're new in it and you already want to lay hard and fast rules and define how the industry should be and be an industry leader. Relax your blood pressure. There's enough time.
My dear, there is a lot that even I am still beginning to learn, and I'm like, oh, the learning process is continuous, and you don't have to make yourself an authority yet. You need to grow into it. I just talked about Joy, who has spent 19 years in the industry plus
That's
some months.
crazy.
That's a, my, and there are a lot of people like that. And these are people who, okay, let me also say this. And this is not me criticizing anybody. People have reasons why they would do certain things and not do certain things, right? I just feel like, so in our industry, one of the things we don't have in is veterans and people who have been there for so long readily there to create resources for people to learn online. How do I put, if I go to the American space, for instance, we're having people like Anganguza, Max Scott, and a lot of other people like that. You have Bill DeWeese.
Sport break,
Yeah.
a lot of people.
These folks are out there, like they're literally on, you see them online, their faces are there, they're speaking, they're writing books, they're putting out stuff, they're blogging, they're sending newsletters, like they are. So in that kind of territory, you don't even think that you can magically become an authority just like that, because they are the authorities, they are the ones putting out the information, and they have the bragging rights to do so because they've stayed so long, they have the experience, they've done a lot of jobs, they've trained and mentored so many people enough to be able to say these things with acuteness, correctness, and all of that. But in our industry, we don't have many of those. So the challenge is there's the lack of that in its plenty, and there is a huge demand for learning, and people are definitely going, it's like water will always find a way. So if people are not seeing it from the quote and unquote authorities here, and again, see, let me just balance it a bit too. I'm not blaming anybody. It's not their fault. Everybody can. Some people are not even doing it full time. Unlike in the US, where you have many of these people I mentioned, they are full timers. Over here, perhaps also because of how our industry evolved, they had to look for other things to survive too. So we can't necessarily blame them, right? And some of them are actively involved in voiceover institutions. They are teaching from those platforms, and it's not everybody that is also social media savvy to be able to do this kind of thing. So I'm just speaking on their behalf, but I'm saying that the demand to learn voiceover then spikes. It's only, they say fortune favors the brave. People who are brave enough to position themselves out there as authorities are the ones that the unknowing public that are just very curious will flow to. So we have a situation where people who aren't necessarily, they've not been polished enough to train and teach voiceovers are becoming teachers of voiceovers. So it's a thing. I don't know.
So you do more harm than good because your should I say lack of sufficient knowledge now breeds inefficiency, and that trickles down.
So we have
newcomers in the industry.
Yes. So we have a problem in the industry, and I'm the thing is, when I think about these things, I'm not even necessarily going to castigate these young people that are also teaching. There are two reasons. There are two things. One is you tend to want to be like people who you see that are ahead of you. And when people ahead of you are doing
without
something
going through their process.
through their process. So when you look at our industry and you look at people ahead, you find out that some of them have in common is that they train and they mentor. So you just tend to want to start to be like them, right? You think that the next level, the next big deal in the journey is to become a facilitator, is to become a mentor, right? Like that's the next thing to aspire to, which is not the case. Not everybody has the gift to teach. Some of the people that you see up there, not all of them are like teachers. They are very good at what they do. They are,
see, I'm so glad you just said that, because that's something that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Not everybody is supposed to teach voiceover,
Facts.
You can be a wonderful voice talent, but that doesn't mean the natural projection of your career is to start teaching next.
Facts.
You understand? So, I mean, I know people, like, I have people that reached out to me, oh, Sarah, why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done that? I'm like, I really do love teaching, right? But I'm still figuring out if this is what I'm supposed to do. But I know that I want to create a space for voiceover artists to come and be themselves.
Yeah.
So I would rather do a studio for now. As as it comes to me, if I feel like, teaching is the next step for me, then maybe I'll go there. It shouldn't, I know there would be pressure to feel like that should be the natural next step. But take your time and actually evaluate what you want to do next in the industry. Is it teaching? Try to find gaps that need to be filled so that you're not just one in many hundreds that are already doing the same thing. Find out gaps that need to be filled. And trust me, in this our new and blossoming industry, there are many gaps to be filled. Many gaps. There are many gaps to be filled. So fill in gaps, right? Fill in gaps that need to be filled instead of just trying to just teach voiceover. And even if you're going to teach voiceover, look for something that, what would I want to have taught that is presently not being taught? For me, that was the ginger behind becoming a facilitator at the Voiceover Academy. When I got the offer, they were like, okay, we've seen the things you've been doing in animation and would love for you to come and teach voiceover in animation. So, and I realized, it's actually true. This is, at first I didn't want to accept it because I felt like, I've not been here so long enough. I feel like I'm not equipped. That's part of what we're going to be talking about soon on everything voiceovers. Right. We're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. I dealt with imposter syndrome and still occasionally deal with imposter syndrome.
Same here.
Trust me, I don't think it's something you can ever really get rid of completely. Right? But my point is, find a gap of something that's not already being done or being done enough, and fill it instead of just going with what you believe is the natural projection because of what you see is happening, or what you see people are doing or what people are pressuring you to do.
You've said a lot in this episode, and even what has been said still needs some deeper saying, if I can say that.
I'm just realizing that we've been recording for over an hour, and I've not even gotten through all the points that I wrote down.
My dear, maybe we'll do a part 2. Who knows? Yeah, but just to also round off this topic, I like to also balance things, right? I also mentioned that there is a huge demand, and if the people who are equipped with the right knowledge aren't passing the knowledge, people who are ill-equipped
absolutely
but have the structure to pass the knowledge are going to step in. So we have two things. We have two works, two tasks in front of us. One is to, if possible, help, or if people who are equipped to teach it, when I say equipped, knowledge-wise, if they can build these structures around themselves where they can now start to teach it, if they're encouraged, for instance, we have a lot of veterans write books about voiceover, please, right? And one of the things that we'll be doing, of course, in the podcast is to be bringing them to share what they know about voiceover. And again, it doesn't mean that every knowledge should just be thrown out there because it's valuable. But then we're saying it should be accessible, even if it's going to be paid for. There are some people that it will be so unfortunate if we lose them in our industry. The knowledge they have will just go with them. They need to document it. They need to create a structure to share it. Now, that's task one. Having those people enabled to be able to share. Task two is to also have those people who are ill-equipped, well-equipped. You see those people who are already teaching it, but they don't have enough knowledge. They need to now be conscious about learning. They need to go and learn.
Yeah.
I mean, I was at your studio some months back when you told me about how you are taking trainings with international voice coach, and you're learning more, and that's very impressive, right? We that we are speaking, we don't even know it all, even though we are facilitators as well in different places. We are still trying to learn more and more and more. That's why I don't stop learning from podcasts and different platforms. I gotta say though, it's not like we're there yet. We're still trying, and we also do have the imposter syndrome. But sometimes when I look at the situation of things and I say to myself, if I also wait for everything to be okay, if I wait for the time when I will become like a veteran and I now have that bragging right to teach, I don't know how. I mean, there will just be a lot of vacuum.
Yeah,
I might even start by then.
Exactly. That's why I mentioned that. Sorry to cut you.
Yeah, it's all right. Please go on.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that's why I mentioned teaching from what you know at the moment. Taking people on that progress journey with you, letting them know, okay, this is how I've learned to do this. This is, so that you're passing across knowledge, but with the right kind of perspective, knowing fully well that you are on a learning journey yourself.
Yeah. I agree.
You don't have to wait till you're a veteran before you feel like you can share knowledge. Yeah. So please go ahead. I'm so sorry for cutting you.
No, it's all right. And to just round off that point, I'll just say that when people reach out to you, I mean, the truth is, when you begin to drive, some following and you get attention, the chances that people will reach out to you to source for information about voiceover becomes very high. And that's where the temptation starts. People are reaching out to you in numbers. They're asking you about questions, and you're thinking, this means the demand is there. What if I monetize this demand? What if I start teaching people? I also had that pressure, but what I used to do back then was I refer them, and I still do it till now. I refer them to voiceover training institutions that already exist, because those people have created structures and they have facilitators, not one, not two, that are able to dish out the right knowledge. So it's going to be in your best interest to do that, except if you're, well equipped to create something, to train people. Do that. And secondly, do your own due diligence to research. When people ask me questions, I don't have all the answers. I take my time to research. I'll go on YouTube to find answers. I make a call to a colleague. I speak to a mentor. I look for the answers and then I share. And trust me, that has helped me to know so much about this industry than anything else. Because the more questions people pose at me, I don't just ignore. I look for the answers. And that reminds me of what we've been saying. If you have voiceover related questions, reach out to us and let us. We'll be happy to.
I feel like by the time we start having that's going to be my favorite section of the show.
Same here. It's going to push me to do a lot of research. Okay, so Serah, I think we've done a lot of talking today, and
we have.
So since we have more to talk about, probably we just reserve them for next week. And let's see how it goes too, because we're supposed to have a guest on the show next week. Let's see how it goes. But it's been a great conversation,
we won't tell you who it is until then.
Yeah, you gotta wait till then. Wow. So what else? I think we're good. It's been a fantastic episode.
I mean, for now. I guess we'll just have to keep waiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. Just a
Um,
little bit.
I just want to encourage people to keep listening to the Everything Voiceovers podcast. If you've not followed us
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube, please go on YouTube and follow, like our stuff, share with people. We're also on other platforms. Go listen to us, and you can support the podcast as well because it costs us actually to put this together. So yeah, we have a Buy Me a Coffee link on our link tree. So you can find that. We'll add it to the show notes as well, so you can support us. So that's it. Yeah, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to Sarah for being
All
such
right. Yes, Tcode.
a
It's
great
been another fantastic
co-host.
time. So excited, so excited. Yeah, I hope you continue to enjoy listening to this, guys. Please do. And yeah, I guess we'll catch you next week.
All right then. This is Tcode signing out.
Bye.
Bye.
And Sarah signing out.
Yeah. See you next time. Bye.
See you next time.